All right, gang, we're back. We are joined on the phone by Matt Cross. Jesus, wow, I haven't even started drinking today yet. We're joined by M Dogg 20, Matt Cross. How are you today, sir?
Not bad. How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Yeah, right on.
Let's, where am I? You're in Cleveland, correct?
That's correct.
How's that going out there?
Pretty good. I like it. It's especially for wrestling, it's kind of like a good home base. You head 6 hours west, you got Chicago. You head about 7 hours east, you get Philly. 5 hours north, Toronto. Beneath us is West Virginia. So there's a good radius around me for wrestling and stuff. So I enjoy it.
Very good, very good. We had Gregory Iron on actually last week, another Cleveland native, and I was busting his chops about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right. Yeah, I mean, wrestling it's weird. Like, as far as sports go, Cleveland is like terrible, but we do have like a thing going with professional wrestling. I mean, like Dolph Ziggler is out of here. I think he's one of, if not the best right now. You got the Miz coming out of here. You have Michael Tarver, Derek Bateman, a lot of Cleveland guys. So I think pro wrestling is where we shine.
You didn't throw yourself in that list of guys.
Well, I was assumed.
Yes, I agree. So a lot of people might not be familiar with your background. You were a gymnastic competitor for about 10 years, and I'm sure that factored into the style of wrestling that you do. Starting out as a backyard wrestler and then transitioning into the world of professional wrestling, what was that like for you?
Well, it was actually like a really natural progression. The things that I enjoyed in life were doing flips and working out, so wrestling was really the only option, really. No, it was a very like seamless transition. Again, I started gymnastics when I was 10, and then that wraps up around 21 because there's not much of a career path for gymnastics, and I was never really interested in coaching. So, I had a love of flipping and performing and stuff like that. So it lended itself quite well to wrestling. I had some buddies that were just enamored by wrestling, and the more and more that I got into it, I was kind of it was something I thought I could do. And, it highlights a lot of things that I enjoyed and didn't get out of gymnastics. I think that gymnastics doesn't quite have the creativity that wrestling does, based that, you're doing things for a judge and it's so subjective, whereas wrestling, you can kind of put your own style and your own flair on things, which I enjoy. And then as far as the live performances in gymnastics, you'll do something that comparatively is nearly impossible, and the three people there will kind of clap. So it's like, thanks, Mom. Whereas in wrestling, you do something like a moonsault, which is something that you'll learn at about 10, 11 years old as a gymnast. And so it's relatively easy for you. And then you have a crowd of potentially thousands going crazy. And it's like, well, I'd much rather do this. This is a lot more fun.
Yeah, I can definitely see why you would want to transition from being a gymnast into a wrestler.
Sure.
So you make that transition, and how long did you train before you had your first match?
Well, it's kind of muddy because I did come from backyard wrestling, and we had even been booked on some shows like based on our backyard wrestling. So it's tough to even say. There's nothing like it really now, but in 98, 99, when wrestling was so hot, if you just put wrestling on a flyer, 800 people would show up to a building. So we would do shows where no one was trained, but we were inside and in a ring, so it had a professional appearance, even though no one knew what they were doing. So, and then from some of those shows, I got booked on legitimate indie shows. So it's kind of muddy as far as like what would be considered my first match, because I was kind of training as I was learning, but I trained for about a year, but I was kind of doing shows during that time. So.
Okay.
Again, it's tough to say like when I officially started, but I did about a year of like legitimate training before I guess I would consider I had a clue what I was doing.
Very good, very good. Now I listened to the Colt Cabana Art of Wrestling, and I recently listened to your episode again because you were coming up on the show, and I actually am an owner of the Backyard Wrestling DVD that was put out maybe 10 years ago with you and Josh Prohibition on it.
Oh, nice.
So I had gotten that because myself and the other gentlemen that do the podcast, we were all backyard wrestlers as well.
Sure.
So we were always comparing and looking, and I had to go back and I had to watch some of that stuff, and I got a kick out of it. And you guys definitely stole the show on the DVD. Did you get any kind of kickback for that, or they just kind of were looking for people to showcase on their DVDs, and you kind of sent stuff in?
Well, the initial like Best of Back to Wrestling DVDs, we basically were given nothing, and the video game we were basically given nothing. But that DVD in particular, Passion for Pain, we were given something. And it's funny because, as you mentioned, it came out about, I don't know, almost 9 years ago now. I think it was 2003, and I'm still proud of it. I still feel like it holds up. I still get a lot of feedback from it. I know one of my funny stories that comes along with it is I was doing a show with AJ Styles, who is one of, if not my favorite wrestlers, and he bought it off me. And I'm like, dude, straight up, you're my favorite wrestler. You can have it. And he wouldn't, he actually paid double for it.
Oh, that's pretty
and
cool.
Every time I've seen him since, he asked me when part 2 was coming out because he loved it so much. I just thought it was so cool because, like, what a nice guy.
Oh, that's pretty awesome for you to have the guy you look up to actually go into his pocket and buy something that you did and support you.
Yeah, exactly. And then he he definitely watched it because he would come up with specific examples of, oh man, when you jumped in the mall into that tree, like that's the funniest thing ever. Like, and I was like, dude, this guy actually watched it. Like, what a badass.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you make your debut. You wrestle around the Ohio area. You go into Canada, and then you end up landing in Combat Zone Wrestling. What was your experience like being there, considering that it was kind of like a hotbed after they had closed the ECW and they were doing their shows out of the arena down there?
Yeah, it was really exciting at the time. I think it was the first Cage of Death show, and I believe that was like the year after ECW had shut down, so maybe, as far as I understand it, it was the first kind of major show post ECW in the same building. So there was 9 gajillion people in there. And I remember watching that VHS tape with my buddy Josh Prohibition, and I was just being like, man, this is insane. Look at this and how many people there are. And we were having some pretty wild matches at the time. And I remember thinking, if you just put me in front of a crowd like that, forget about it. It'd be over. And I remember almost being disappointed with some of the matches. I don't remember particulars, but I was like, what are these guys doing? What an avenue and what a crowd to work in front of. And no, they got to go nuts. And so then, yeah, when we kind of things fell together within that next year, so by the time Cage of Death 2 rolled around, I think that's, I believe we were on it. And so it was cool within to go from just watching it again on VHS to then being so excited to be a part of it. Because, yeah, it definitely was kind of, one of the places to be at the time, and it was a lot of fun.
Now, you weren't a wrestling fan growing up, but you kind of caught the wrestling bug from ECW, correct?
Yeah, I liked it when I was a young kid, like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. We named our dog Dusty Rhodes because for some reason I thought he was the coolest thing ever. And then one day my dad told me it was fake, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" I remember watching it with through a different lens and being like, "Oh, he's right." And then I just fell off that day, and I was like, "I can't believe people watch this." And then this went through even high school. I remember in high school people wearing NWO T-shirts, and I'm like, what is this? And then they were like, oh, it's wrestling. And I'm like, what do you mean wrestling? Pro wrestling? They're like, yeah. And I was like, what? It's still on? I thought it was crazy. So, yeah, we basically had friends that were like, you got to watch this ECW thing. And I'm like, what's that? And they said it was wrestling, and I'm like, I'm good. And they somehow talked me into it just because they were like punk rock buddies, basically. So we shared a lot of musical tastes together and went to shows and stuff like that. So I was like, well, I'll give it a chance. And it just completely rebirthed my love of wrestling because I was like, what is this? I remember Shane Douglas coming out and swearing and Francine coming out naked and New Jack jumping up everything and everybody bleeding. And it was just so crazy and violent. And it to me was punk rock. Everyone's standing, everyone's going nuts. People are essentially throwing their chairs in the audience. I was like, what is going on? And then to see matches like Tajiri versus Super Crazy, that to me was gymnastics. And I'm like, this is what this is the coolest thing ever. So it's just, yeah, then I just got hooked on that. And I was like, oh man, to the degree that, I want to see it, I want to watch it. And then taking it that one step further and being like seeing stuff like RVD versus Jerry Lynn and being like, wait, I want to do this. So yeah, ECW definitely gets the credit for sending me down this path. Did
you have to watch ECW at 2 o'clock in the morning like the rest of us around here?
Yeah, it was on I can't remember, but it was the middle of the night thing, and
Did you ever get an opportunity to go to an ECW show before they closed the doors?
Yeah, I did. I went to a couple. I went to just house shows, and they were in the Cleveland area and Columbus, Ohio. And then I also got to go to Heat Wave '98, which in Dayton, which I to this day think is probably the best pay-per-view of all time.
Nice, great. I had the wonderful experience. My first ECW show was at the arena. I got to see Terry Funk and Sabu in a barbed wire match.
Oh wow, yeah,
which
sweet.
Was amazing. It blew my mind.
Yeah,
and, hooked ever since.
I mean, I definitely saw that on tape.
So you go from being a fan to wrestling in the arena. Was there that? Did you get that sense of nostalgia being there? Like, this is where Rob Van Dam perfected his craft, and this is where, these guys I idolized growing up that got me back into the sport. This is where they were. Did that have an impact on you?
Yeah, for sure. Especially when debuting for CZW, I think it was like 2002. So, I mean, ECW had only been closed for a year. So it was still really fresh as well. And then me coming from, again, ECW being the reason that I wanted to wrestle and stuff like that, and that being the ground zero of ECW, essentially, it was, yeah, for sure. I remember going in the building and being like, this is really cool. And even from having seen, like, Be on the Mat, and I'm not even sure if I was wrestling at the time, but seeing that in theaters and all that, and then I remember specifically that, like, kind of going to that little stairwell and kind of where in the movie, like, Paul Heyman's there and being like, this is the dance or whatever. So I'm like walking up that staircase, just being like, oh man, this is the dance. Like, I'm here, cool.
And the big pep talks going on in your head before you go out
right,
there.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this was definitely cool.
So after Combat Zone, you float around the independents, and then you end up landing in Ring of Honor, which at the time, 2006, I mean, they were just as hot as CZW, if not hotter. I mean, you got to wrestle Christopher Daniels. You were involved in an awesome angle with Roderick Strong and Austin Aries and Davey Richards. That whole experience, what did you get to take from that?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. Like you said, I mean, almost like what I touched on with ECW, of it in a degree back in '02 being kind of the place to be. Like, I feel like Ring of Honor in '06 was definitely the place that you wanted to be. And I felt it was a great honor just being involved in that locker room and that roster. I mean, like you touched on, you had Christopher Daniels. I think you had Samoa Joe at the time. You had Homicide and Davey Richards and Austin Aries and Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli and just so many guys. It was, there was that sense that everyone was going somewhere, for sure, and it was that somewhere was up. So just to be involved in the roster there was like a accomplishment in and of itself. So yeah, it was definitely cool to be along those people and stuff like that, and just have that excitement and that feeling. So I really enjoyed my time there. It was a great learning experience, and just cool to interact so closely with all those people. I mean, look how many. Yeah, Evan Bourne was there at the time as well. So it's just there were so many guys that were kind of cutting their teeth and making things happen.
Now, being that there was all these guys and you were spending so much time there, was there anyone in particular who kind of took you under their wing or gave you pointers and helped perfect your craft or watch your matches and stuff?
Any one guy, because you would learn so much from every match. So I remember Brent Albright kind of pulling me aside a couple times and being extra helpful. I think he had just left WWE at the time and was kind of new to Ring of Honor. And so he kind of had that, love it or hate it, WWE is its own style. And everyone always touts Lucha Libre or Strong Style or whatever. There's all these different takes on professional wrestling. The WWE itself is its own style with its own nuances. So he was kind of fresh out of that system, and then was able to kind of pass some of that knowledge on to me, and was always happy to do so. So that was, something I really appreciated.
Were you in Ring of Honor at the same time as CM Punk?
No, I think he was already gone. I remember going to visit. I remember being at CZW when he was in Ring of Honor, and then when at the time they were running kind of down the street from one another. So I think we were at the arena, and they were at the that Murphy's Rec Center, I believe. So I remember just kind of going down there to hang out with him and just to visit before a Ring of Honor show one time while we were in town for CZW. But no, I don't think we were in Ring of Honor at the same time. I think he was already signed, maybe even.
Do you have a CM Punk's an asshole story like everybody else when they first meet him?
No, not me, not whatsoever. I mean, I've been straight edge for 15 or 16 years now, so we actually had a a pretty much instantaneous bond. The only person that I know in the world that is straight edge is him, and he's kind of said the same about me. So we from day one, there's two straight edge punk rock kids that like wrestling, so, and facial hair. So I mean, we had a lot in common right off the bat, and no, I definitely don't have any sort of bad things. Even back in the day, it was right off the bat. We were taking road trips and seeing eye to eye. So
awesome, cool.
It's always been cool.
Now that straight edge lifestyle that you live, does that affect you on the road? I mean, does it prevent you from going out with guys? Or when you were younger, was there a lot of pressure from them to, come on, just do a shot or do this or whatever while you guys were out and about?
Surprisingly, no. I mean, I feel like in school and on TV and stuff, there was always this, it's going to come, and I always felt that, like, I needed to be ready for that, and I was always like, oh, man, I'm going to be approached in these seedy alleyways, and all that I've learned from my upbringing is that the first one is free, and then you're hooked, and, like, all these things that then never happen, and I've actually been surprised by how easy it is to not, I mean, it's as simple as, like, hey, man, do you want a drink, or do you want something? They're like, no, I'm good, and that's lasted me 30 years. So it's like, I don't know, I maybe I've been lucky, or I guess my friends have, because I've always really been like this, my friends have been understanding, and they understand that, my job and things like that, and just fitness in general and stuff that I care about and find important. So my friends don't really give me any trouble. And then, there can be somewhat awkward situations on the road, but then I always feel like, it's more overseas, I would say, where drinking is, like, even more a part of the culture, where, like, in Germany, for example, like, the fact that someone doesn't drink is a really foreign concept. So sometimes I feel like they get the impression that I'm allergic to it or a recovering alcoholic, which is kind of funny, because I've had people that definitely thought that they're like, wait, you don't drink ever? And then they interpret that as, oh, he must have previously had some kind of terrible problem with it. So then they come back, like, so apologetic and, oh my God, we didn't know, and are you okay even in this environment, or is it okay if we drink? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't care. It's just for me.
Awesome.
I never got into it, and I don't know. I feel like I'm crazy enough without it. So.
Yeah, man, good for you. That's awesome. I feel like more people would be better off if they had the will to not succumb to the drinking and the alcohol and the drugs, just to kind of fit in with the group. So I definitely tip.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I don't want to be preachy or anything, but it's just kind of funny how it's so ingrained in everything. Like even like sports in general, like, let's go to the baseball game and drink. Let's go to a picnic and drink. Let's have a holiday and drink. And it's like, why does it have to be that way? And if I can, I dare people to just go to a nightclub or something some night and not be drunk and just kind of, like, take it in. Because you'll be pretty amazed, I think, about it. You're like, man, is this cool?
Oh, it's hysterical. If
you're standing there sober, it's like, I mean, it can be entertaining, but it's like, it's just funny to see from that perspective of, like, really?
Yeah, it can be quite the show if you go into a bar or a club and you decide not to drink, and you just kind of watch people make asses out of themselves, and you're like,
right.
Like, I've been there, but I don't know if it's really, is this what I look like? Because I don't want to look like this all the time. This is a bit ridiculous.
It's kind of funny.
So you mentioned overseas. When you got into wrestling, did you expect that you'd get the opportunity to go to France and Italy and Japan?
I don't know if I would say expect. I had these weird, I remember even, like, doing a backyard match, and in my, like, you let your mind wander and you have these crazy dreams. And I was aware that there was professional wrestling in, like, Japan and Mexico. And I remember kind of thinking, like, man, how cool would that be to, like, do this in Mexico or do this in Japan, or, like, maybe I'll go there someday, in, like, a very wishful thinking kind of way. Now, 10, 11 years removed from that, there's absolutely no way I could have foreseen that I would go the places I would go. Once I got involved in indies, my goals were to be flown somewhere to wrestle, and then to wrestle somewhere in a different country. The fact that I could, achieve those and then just kind of create a little wave and then be riding that momentum forever is something I never could have foreseen, and it's great. I mean, who even knew there was professional wrestling in Russia? Who could have guessed that there's wrestling in Egypt? I would have never thought there's wrestling in Colombia. Like, the places that I've been able to go and parts of the world that I've been able to see because of this, even now talking about it blows me away. I mean, things that I've done, I can't even believe, and it's what keeps me wrestling and what keeps it all fresh, and it's what I enjoy the most about this.
That's pretty awesome. You became a regular in 2008 in Pro Wrestling Noah. Was it their idea or your idea to don the mask?
It definitely wasn't mine. I hate masks. It's awful.
Yeah.
Any way you could possibly. I mean, you can't hear, you can't see, you can't breathe. I mean, so much of your heat comes out of your head area, right. So to then encapsulate that within a mask, you're 1,000 times hotter. Definitely wasn't my idea. They kind of had an idea for a gimmick, and it needed to be an American high flyer. So they had seen me on the Ring of Honor shows when they had Kenta and Marufuji and these guys over. So they thought I fit perfectly for it, and went over for that. But yeah, definitely. I mean, if I have a choice, I'd prefer not to wear a mask. It's just kind of awkward. And I believe that was the first time I did it, and I didn't get the mask until I was in Tokyo the first day of the tour. So I believe the first time I ever wore it was like in the match.
Oh, really?
So it was kind of like, well, what is going on?
That must have made things a bit difficult.
Yeah, it was kind of. I mean, masks look cool, and I have like a little mask collection, and I like the aesthetic of it and the meaning behind it. But for me personally, I'd prefer not to wear it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I've thrown on a lucha mask just to run around like a moron, and it's very hot.
Yeah, exactly. Now imagine essentially fighting for your life in it. It's weird. I mean, props to guys that do it, because I don't understand it. And then how do you even clean a mask, and how do you regularly clean a mask? So it's like to put that same sweat-laden mask on day after day. I just can't even. And the whole worry about going to and from the shows with it. It's a whole process. It's really involved.
Yeah, it's much more than it needs to be.
Right. Yeah, I agree, but.
So you do all this overseas stuff, and then the tour, to me, that sticks out the most, you had an opportunity to be part of the Australian Hulkamania tour, which for me, as a wrestling fan growing up, I mean, Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, they were the biggest stars in the world. I mean, what's that experience like where you're just, you're there in the back and you're lacing up your boots and the Hulkster walks by. What's that like? I mean, that's got to be an awesome experience.
Right. As you can imagine, I mean, myself is the same. I mean, I did like wrestling when I was young, and I was an absolute Hulkamaniac through and through. And I remember, going to, I think the one wrestling event my parents took me to was SummerSlam '88 or something, was in Cleveland. And the arena that it's at has since been torn down and stuff. And I remember going because I wanted to see Hulk Hogan and, wanted to get close enough to maybe touch his hand. And it was pretty wild to just have that experience and that memory and then take that with me halfway across the world to freaking Australia, which was cool in and of itself, to then go on tour with all these guys. And I was one of, if not the only guys that is not a former employee of WWE. So it was a huge honor to be involved in that. And, I was just so excited. And, I mean, right off the plane, we went to a press conference, and I'm standing behind Ric Flair, and him and the Hulk, getting a little thing there, and that gets all over the news and even America. And so all of a sudden I'm getting these emails and stuff from people, showing me on the homepage of, AOL or Yahoo and stuff. And there's Hogan bloody and me standing there, and, it was definitely a surreal experience and so cool, because I had worried that being, probably the youngest guy and the guy without the the TV exposure and the national backing of a company like WWE, I was I wonder how, for example, the Nasty Boys will take to me. Are they just gonna be who is this schmuck? And so I had a little trepidation going into it, but everybody treated me so well, and it was I got to work with Shannon Moore every night, and he was just really awesome. And Val Venus was over there, and he's a great guy. And my buddy Heidenreich, who's a wild man, was there. And I'm close with Rikishi, and he was on the tour as well. So there was just so many guys that I already knew or met there, and everyone just treated me so well. So it was a surreal 2 weeks. I think we did 4 shows in that time. So I mean, when we had days off, we had days off. It would just be no pre-tapes, no anything, no vignettes, no just time off, which is so nice. So here I was, surfing on days off in Australia, getting ready for the next show of a Hulkamania tour, and I was this is just ideal. Now, when we would have that time off, Hogan would be working his butt off. So to see that was interesting as well, because we would have these days off, and then he would go to the local hospital in the morning, and then go straight from there to an autograph signing, and then go there to a news station, and then go there to and just the drives involved in that, with Australia being as large as it is. I mean, he'd be on the road all day, just constantly working. So to see, I mean, everyone wants to be the man, so to speak, but to see how much work was involved right there was eye-opening, because I was like, this guy, I mean, I'm sure he's making money, but, like, he's earning it. And then you got to couple that with anywhere he goes, he's going to get kind of swamped and have to do autographs. So it's a really involved life that, you know, people don't, I mean, you might hear about, but to see it firsthand, I was like, wow, this is really, like, he's got to be on 24/7. And it's just, and with that said, he always gave everyone that extra second. So I thought, like, wow, like, here's this, I mean, he's Hulk Hogan. Like, he doesn't know anybody anything. So I figured, at best, he might wave at me once. Well, really, I thought he was going to be like, who is this dude? But he was always, anytime I would talk to him, he would take that extra second. You know, we'd be sitting in catering, he'd come over, and how you holding up, big dog? And I'm like, and like you touched on, like there's just a little kid in me who's like, I'm doing well, Hulk.
I'm eating my vitamins and saying my prayers.
Yeah, it was like, what do you even, like, any interaction I had with him was just inherently awkward, because like, he's Hulk Hogan. I remember the one day me and Val Venus were talking, and we're talking about, you know, different places that we've wrestled in Mexico or something like that, and we're just having a conversation, and Hulk Hogan just kind of moseyed on over to kind of join the conversation. And it's like, when anyone joins a conversation, it changes the dynamic, let alone if that person is Hulk Hogan. So he kind of comes over, and it's just like, you know, the record scratch moment of like, whoa? And he's kind of like, what are you guys talking about? And it's like, oh, we're talking about wrestling in Mexico, Hulk Hogan. Like, what do you have to add? It was like, this is crazy. Like, what's happening? But a cool dude, and yeah, it was great. Unfortunately, and I believe it was supposed to air on Australian television, and something happened, and it never did. And it's kind of been, I don't know, a reoccurring theme of sorts in my career, unfortunately, because I feel like I was given the ball there, unquestionably. I mean, me and Shannon Moore went out there, gave it our all, had a series of matches leading up to the big match in Sydney from, I believe, 16,000 people, and we had a ladder match, and we just went off, because I'm like, this is going to be, you know, this is a huge opportunity for me, obviously, and I want it to stick. I want them to get this DVD and watch it later and be like, dude, who is this guy? Because I feel like I'm just below the surface, and I just need that chance. And I'm like, here's that chance I've been waiting for, and I feel like I knocked it out of the park. And then nothing came of it. And it's just, you know, for whatever reason, it never aired on the television show, and they all kind of focused their interests on TNA and kind of went that route. And it's like, man, like, what is going on? It's like all my European stuff, NWE, and Rikishi was running things in Spain. So all summer in like 08 or 09 or something, we were over there just for weeks and weeks and weeks on end with the Ultimate Warrior return show in front of, again, 16,000 people. And me and Cooper Guerrero had a ladder match there, and I feel like I knocked it out of the park. So it's like, in Spain, I'm just killing it. In Australia, I was killing it. And it's like, I just can't get anyone to give me that ball in America. And that's what's been so frustrating.
Well, you've finally get your opportunity in 2010 where the WWE comes calling and you get to do a dark match. And then you are invited back to be part of the revived WWE Tough Enough. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun because I thought that it was going to be that opportunity that I had waited for. I'm like, here we go. Certainly what I've been after for all this time, and now here it has presented itself. Yeah, it was wild. It was a lot of fun because we were in a $75 million mansion. So, I mean, I don't foresee myself living in anything like that at any point in my life. So just to live in a house like that, and then down to things like they would do your laundry and you didn't have to wash your dishes. So I felt like you were some sort of king. I mean, even if I was a king, I'd probably have to do my dishes.
Yeah.
So it was just like this surreal. It's funny because it's reality TV, but then you're put in somewhere where there's no TVs and you can't. Your cell phone has been locked up weeks prior, and you're not doing your dishes and you're not doing your laundry. So it's like, I wish that's how my real life was.
Right.
And I was living with Miss USA and all these people. Like, what's going on here? So it's just a really cool, like surreal, like, this is bizarre, like, there's cameras everywhere and camera crews everywhere. But just to see the scope of it as well was cool. Because, I mean, I remember the one day on set I counted like 41 people, not cast members, not trainers, that were just filming and sound guys. And I was like, there's 41 people here making their full-time living. Like, the scope of it was just monstrous. So it was cool. It was a lot of fun. And I feel like in these crazy situations that they put you in, you definitely bond. You know, I've never been involved with the military or anything like that, and I hesitate to like draw some kind of analogy with like war, but any sort of traumatic experience in general in life will bring you closer to the people that you're around. So to be put through like such a crazy experience like that was, it was wild because you definitely drew like stronger bonds with these people. So if anything, I feel like I made friends for life with a lot of the cast members, which is just something that's really cool, having shared that experience with them.
That's awesome. I feel like that's something that wrestling does to a lot of people. It brings people together.
Absolutely.
So we threw this out on Facebook on our page, and a couple people had some questions about your experience in Tough Enough. One of our fans wanted to know if Bill DeMott was as big of an asshole as most people say he is.
The thing about Bill is that he cares about wrestling maybe more than anyone else.
Yeah.
Maybe more than anyone even should. But he cares about wrestling. So if he's going to be involved in anything, he's going to absolutely give it his all. And then he definitely feels strongly, or my interpretation of it, is that if he's going to attach his name to anything, then he's not going to just attach his name to anything. If he's going to, it's got to have gone through a certain path or earned it to a degree. And I think he holds that, you know, near and dear to his heart. So he's not going to make anything particularly easy or, you know, wrestling is hard. And he wants to show people that wrestling is hard. And you're not going to be babied, and you're going to get in crazy situations. And for people without the experience, I mean, it's almost like a crash course in wrestling, or maybe it's these potential bad situations just crammed together due to the confines of the show. So I don't think that I wouldn't call him an asshole, because I think it's just a guy that you know, his life's work has been in professional wrestling, so it's something that's very close to him. It's his livelihood, and he's raising a family off of it, so it's something he just takes, like, extremely seriously. And if he's going to attach his name to something, or if he's forced to, or whatever it is, he's going to put his own stamp on it. So, and you know, it's TV, so.
Right, they kind of overdo it.
Yeah, so, I mean, you got to keep that in mind throughout all of the discussion, and yeah. So I mean, I've kept in touch with him since, and he's been very helpful and very nice, and so I've gotten to see like the two sides of him. Like if it's training time, then he's not going to mess around. He's got a lot of knowledge. He'd like you to do it. He doesn't want to waste his time with telling you things 1,000 times, or I mean, how many of us want to make it to WWE? 1 billion? 8 jillion? Like,
right.
Who doesn't? I mean, my grandma wants to be in the WWE. Like, no one doesn't want to be there. So the line is out the door. So he doesn't have time for, you know, there's always somebody else beating down the door. So I think that's kind of how he approaches things. But, you know, I've gotten to know him as a person and see both sides of him, and he's a cool guy that just cares about wrestling.
That's awesome. You were I hate to bring it up, you were the second person cut on Tough Enough, and it was very controversial because you were well-known, you had a great background, and it was documented your skills were far and above a lot of the people that were on the show, in my opinion, and I don't think I'm the only one that has that opinion. But why did you feel that you were chosen so early to be eliminated from the show?
I mean, I can't really go too in-depth about things, and at the end of the day, it wasn't my decision or my choice, or I can speculate here and there. I mean, I for whatever reason, that wasn't in their game plan, and that's how it is. I mean, it's funny because post-show, I don't know if anyone has heard of any of these people, and whereas I've wrestled in, I think it's 12 states and 5 countries now, and I always laugh that, I mean, I think the WWE last week debuted in Egypt for the first time, if I'm correct, and I wrestled there in 2009. And then I think this year, WWE for the first time ever went to Russia. and I headlined the show there last month. So it's funny how I'm definitely almost ahead of the curve. Or I mean, the fact that have been able to wrestle places where the WWE themselves haven't gone yet or are just going is something that I take a lot of pride in, both personally and professionally. And I've kept in touch with the trainers post show, and that's been the greatest asset from doing it, and the biggest surprise as well. I mean, I would have thought that the show is what it is, and that's it. So these people definitely don't owe us anything post show. I mean, it's not part of their contracts to keep in touch with us, or they're not getting paid per text or phone call. So the fact that Bill DeMott and Stone Cold Steve Austin have stayed in touch with me, I could have never expected, and I'm so grateful for. And they've really been helpful and gone out of their way several times to go to bat for me, and that's been really cool. And again, something that I could have never, when I was leaving the show halfway through the first episode before like a commercial break or whatever it was, I was like, wow, okay, like interesting. But then to kind of, learn a bit more about the people involved and things like that post show was really cool, and to get the help of those guys has been great.
That's awesome. That's another one of those cool things where like Steve Austin's, texting you, you're sitting down having a bowl of macaroni, watching TV, and your phone goes off, and Austin's just checking up on you. That's pretty wild.
It's been, I mean, my career in general has been wild. You figure, like we touched on, the Hulkamania tour, so that's completely insane. I was part of Ultimate Warrior's return show. Nuts. Here's Stone Cold Steve Austin texting me, like, what? The idea of him having a cell phone to me is funny. The idea of him sending a text, infinitely funnier. Like, hey, Deborah, get my damn cell phone. Let's text Matt. So it's like, when that first thing came up, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, what kind of elaborate prank is this? So, but it's just been, and another guy that just cares about wrestling, cares about that next generation, wants to see where it's going to go, like, and, wants to be involved. And it's just so grateful for being able to keep in touch with him. Because again, like going into the show, being a part of the show, post show, I could have never even dreamed that like maybe something like that will happen. I mean, that would have been absurd. So it's been really unexpected, and I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah, you mentioned the Warrior return show. Did you have an opportunity to meet the Warrior?
Yeah, for sure. He was another guy where I think it was 2008 or 2009, and we were over in Spain. I was just leaving my hotel room, and I looked down. I closed my door and looked down the hallway, and there is the Ultimate Warrior. And I'm thinking in my head, like, my first reaction was, I'm just like, oh my God, like, go hide back in your room. This is crazy. And it's just him and I in the hallway. So I was like, well, I guess I'll go introduce myself at least. So I go up to him and, how you doing, Matt? And he's like, oh, Warrior. And I'm thinking, like, that's going to be that. And he's like, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh, pretty good. He's like, so where are you from? I'm like, oh, Cleveland. He's like, oh, yeah, my family's from the Midwest. Lots of great guys there. So, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, is this dude still talking to me? Like, I'm still talking. He's like, what are you doing now? I was like, I was going to go eat. He's like, oh, yeah, do you want to go get some lunch? I'm like, dude, what's happening?
Yes, I would like to have lunch with the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, I'm like, are we, like, am I going to wake up, or is this, like, I just, again, expected high, at best. And I'm like, I'm still talking to the Ultimate Warrior. So, yeah, he was pretty cool, and at that first show, he didn't wrestle, but, he kind of gave us all a speech about how I'm sure all of us had heard something or another about him, and he wanted a chance for us to make our own opinions based on this tour, and if we had any questions or anything, we could feel free to talk to him, and seemed to make himself available, and it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
He kind of got a bad rap the day of the show because he got his own locker room, and he was, not really, he wasn't really anywhere to be found. But I'm not one of the guys that there was a large camp of guys that were kind of upset with him, and I can't really join in with that because I feel like here's a guy that had been away from the ring for X number of years. He had his family over there. He had his 2 daughters over there. I mean, what was more important, like interacting with some other wrestlers or being there for, and I feel like that moment would have transcended wrestling for him. I mean, I can't imagine being away from the ring for that long, having that legacy, then returning after training so hard and trying to prepare just mentally and physically. And I think you would want to be kind of in your own head, in your own moment. I don't think it's crazy to ask for your own room to do that with your wife and daughters who have never seen you wrestle. So who knows if they even understand what you did or how you became this persona. So I don't expect him to have the time to go around to each one of us and talk at length and stuff like that. So a lot of the guys hated on him for kind of, doing his own little thing that day. But I mean, what an emotional, crazy ride that must have been for him. So I can't blame him for it. So in my book, he was, again, he kind of won me over with that first little talk and conversation. So, I thought he was a pretty cool guy. Yeah,
we have a friend of the show who actually participated in one of his Warrior University things when he came to Jersey a couple months ago. And he said the guy was just so accessible and awesome, and then after the fact, just checking in on them to make sure they're still, on the right path and trying to do right. And it's like, you hear all these people talk bad about the guy, and it's like, how can you be upset with somebody who, goes out and does this? I mean, we've talked to a couple guys that have dealt with him. No one ever has a bad word to say about him, so.
It's so difficult in life, though, in general, and you kind of learn that, I guess, in wrestling and just the entertainment business at large, because people will base your personality and who you are as a person off just the most minute things, and they don't necessarily keep in mind that, and everybody does it. If I'm getting off an airplane and Tom Cruise is getting off the airplane or something, and I'm, excited to know there's Tom Cruise or something, and I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? And he's like, whatever. And I perceive that he blew me off. I'm like, I will forever be like, that guy's an asshole. And, is that guy an asshole? Or is that guy with his wife and with his kids and worried about he had to fly home because of his dead grandma and where's his luggage? And it's but then I will think he's an asshole, and I'll tell everyone I know he's an asshole, and they'll tell people they know he's an asshole. So I think that's how those things kind of, it's like people base you as a person off, such small interactions or perceived, they got blown off or this or that. So it's difficult. But I think that's helped me personally, because knowing that, and knowing how just, people talk, and just my friends, I met so-and-so and he's a jerk, and it's you did an autograph signing, and, you waited in a line, you got an autograph, and you think that person's a jerk. You don't know him.
Right, you sit down and sign autographs for 4 hours with a cold after driving 6 hours in traffic to get here, come on. Give me a break.
And, you just weren't the most happy dude ever to meet, a random person. So it's, I don't know, it's hard for people to see both sides of it. But again, it's helped me, because then I realized, every interaction you have is important. And, these people are going to tell their friends, are going to tell their friends. So if you come across and you're you're just a jerk to people, and plus I don't really see the point either. It's this weird ego thing of, this guy's a jerk. I think a year ago, I was at some show, and, guys are, help setting up chairs. So I just started helping to set up chairs. And everyone acted like it was this big deal, but, okay, so I've been in wrestling a couple years, so now I'm supposed to, I'm too cool.
Yeah, you're above it. You're not supposed to set up chairs.
Help with the chair. I mean, it's I understand and that I'm not expected to do that, but, if I'm awkwardly standing there while, some menial work is taking place, pushing chairs, it just seems strange on a human level to be nope, don't need to do it.
Yep. Just going to stand here with my hands in my pocket.
I'm not trying to set myself up for ring crew all the time, but I'm just, it's just funny how, something like that can go a long way. And I remember kind of learning that, if you will, from a guy like Jerry Lynn. I mean, here was a guy that is the man I looked up to, is probably a third, at least, if not 2/3 of the reason exclusively that I pursued wrestling. And then to meet him and not have it go with the typical story of I met my hero and he was a jerk. This guy's the opposite of, couldn't be cooler. And we did some shows years ago up in Canada for UWA where he'd be helping with the chairs and stuff. And I'm okay, now this guy doesn't need to be doing anything. But again, he's well, I'm just standing around, I might as well kind of help. And it just, that stuck out to me. And I was wow, he's not too cool for anybody, or he's not too, this dude's the man.
Yeah, we've had Just Incredible did our show a couple months ago, and no one has a bad word to say about Jerry Lynn. If we got a lot of guys out there that listen to the show. If there's anyone you want to look up to, Jerry Lynn's the guy. He's the picture perfect guy in the wrestling business. No one ever has a bad thing to say about him.
I think from listening to his Colt Cabana Art of Wrestling podcast, I believe he said he's going to kind of finish up this year, unfortunately, because it's just a bummer that hopefully he'll still be involved, and I'm sure he wants to, because, he is just a great mind for wrestling, and just a great, and it's one of those things where you can have someone tell you to do something, or you can learn by example. And I just think that's so much more powerful in human nature and to us as people. Like, if we see someone doing it, he never sat me down and was like this, that, or the other thing, really. I mean, he definitely had pointers and things to say, but I feel like the most I learned from him was just watching, observing, seeing how he dealt with people, and just being like, wow, you don't have to be some jerk to be involved in wrestling, which is this kind of all too common misconception. I mean, here's some just genuinely awesome dude, making things happen, and I was like, this guy rules.
Did you guys, because he's a metal fan and you're a punk fan, did you guys kind of come together with that?
I definitely delve into some of the hardcore and stuff like that just because of my straight edge and everything. Like, when I was first navigating those waters, I just really liked Snapcase and Strife and Earth Crisis, and I definitely got a hardcore streak in me. And then some of the more metalcore bands, like, I don't know. I think it was Jerry Lynn that first told me about the Black Dahlia murder.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, see what he's talking about. And that band is amazing. And so, yeah, I was like, this dude knows his stuff. I believe maybe As I Lay Dying, too, he's the first one that told me about it. And these were, 03, and just like many, many, many years ago. So kind of these bands were very new at the time, and he was definitely on the cutting edge of that stuff, and happy to pass along, wrestling knowledge and music knowledge. And he stayed with me a couple times, and I remember taking a road trip out to Philly with him, and listening to Social Distortion, and it's Jerry Lynn, myself, and Josh Prohibition, singing Story of My Life, heading through the tunnels to Philly. I was like, this is crazy. Watching this dude tear it up with RVD 3 years ago, and now we're singing Social D, driving around. I'm like, this rules.
That's an awesome life experience. You can only get that in wrestling.
For sure, yeah, exactly. Yeah, wrestling's such a unique, weird world, and yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it's a great weird world.
Yeah, for sure.
So this Sunday night, the whole reason you're on the podcast is to promote Smash Wrestling, taking place in Toronto, Canada. Inception is the name of the show. Tickets are $15. There's an after party, which will be a free Hell in the Cell viewing party, and you're going to be taking on Brent Banks. Gregory Irons on the show, Tyson Dux is on the show, Michael Elgin, 3.0, Shane Matthews and Scott Parker are there. Your take on being involved in an upstart promotion, how do you feel about being part of that team? I feel like it's a huge feather in your cap to be invited to such an event.
Yeah, and I always like doing promotions first shows because there's inherently an excitement that goes along with it. It's new, it's fresh. From a fan's perspective, from the worker's perspective, from the people behind the scenes, everyone wants to see what's about to unfold. What are we about to create? I mean, where could this go? What's going to be the life cycle of it? So there's just a buzz about something like that, which is you feel. So it's always cool to be involved in the shows, in a first show for a promotion. So definitely glad to be involved in that. When I started wrestling, my goal was to wrestle in another country, was to be flown somewhere to wrestle. So, even now, 8 years, 9 years after having achieved those goals, I still get excited to wrestle in Canada. Technically, it is a different country, and I still have that, there's something about crossing the border that it's wow, I'm doing this, it just makes it cool. I used to go up there a lot, and I feel like I really connected with the fans in Ontario, and fans are, to such a large degree, make wrestling. When I really try to analyze ECW, like we touched on earlier, I feel like what made it was crazy fans. Definitely the matches and the wrestlers, I can't discredit them, but I feel like, to me, what set it apart was just that insane fan base. So, we always look for crazy crowds. Some of the craziest crowds I've wrestled for have been in the Toronto area. So I'm hoping a lot of those people that I connected with over the years are going to come out to see this show. And then, what a cool concept. I was worried when I accepted the booking. Once I looked at my calendar, I'm like, okay, cool, sounds great. And then I thought, I'm going to miss the pay-per-view now. That's a bummer. But I'm like, that's part of my job. I've missed graduations and weddings and, God knows what because of it. And then I remember them telling me about how, the show's going to run until here, and then everyone's going to watch the pay-per-view at the same venue. And just for me, as a wrestler on the show, I was like, awesome. I get to see the pay-per-view and watch it amongst, the fans and the wrestlers and stuff, cool concept. Then I started removing myself and thinking about it from the fans' perspective. And I was like, that's a pretty good deal. I would love to like pay $15, see a wrestling show, see the talent that they've got on the show, and then be able to stick around after that and watch the pay-per-view. I mean, that's like a win after win. So it's a really good thing that I'm just excited about it. And even that atmosphere is cool because it's like, hey, let's watch this live action and then kind of all together with other, you know, diehard wrestling fans experience this pay-per-view and stuff. So I just think it should be a cool atmosphere all around.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with the Beyond Wrestling promotion.
Yeah, I've wrestled with
them. We went up. They're one of the first promotions we started a relationship with, and we went to a show in Massachusetts with the fan interaction, and it is just awesome that all the guys are out around the ring and they're talking to fans, and I think that's the way wrestling should be, where you have that interaction with the wrestlers, and there's not a barrier separating you because they're just as big as fans as you are, and it made the whole experience for me unbelievable. We had such a great time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping for something like this Sunday because exactly, it's like everyone's going to sit down and watch an awesome show, and then when that wraps up, everyone's going to watch the pay-per-view, and it's like you're basically spending the whole day with a bunch of wrestling fans, and then and for $15. So I'm like, hey, I've never, maybe this is common, I don't know. I've never done anything like it, so to me, I'm like, that's a great idea. I think it's really cool, and I'm looking forward to it.
I think you're getting a bunch of people together who love something, and it's a recipe for just an awesome time.
Right.
Do you find yourself following the wrestling, the current wrestling that's going on now, WWE, TNA, all that stuff?
To a degree. It's really surreal to watch wrestling now because I feel like I have a story or an experience or a friendship with nearly everyone. So it's such a weird thing to like still watch the product that you fell in love with as like a small child, but now to think that it's the same. It's still the WWE as you watched as a kid, but now you're watching and it's like, oh, it's my buddy Andre the Giant taking on my roommate CM Punk versus my other buddy Sergeant Slaughter, and there's my best friend Yokozuna. It's like such a weird. Like when you were a kid, you were just like, wow, these like larger than life, insane things, but to be so like intimately involved in it now, it's just really, it's such a bizarre experience watching wrestling. You're like, man, every one of these dudes, like right down to in 2005, I did a tour of Ireland, and to save money, the promoter put me with his local wrestler, and that local wrestler was Sheamus. So for a week or two, I was staying with Sheamus in Dublin, and he was cooking me food and showing me around, and ironically, it happened to be St. Patrick's Day that we were there as well, and had a day off from our schedule. So I remember him riding his bike home from work and kind of coming through the door exhausted, and I'm standing there like, here's the American, all ready to go, because like, it's St. Patrick's Day, and he's like, oh, you want to go out, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, dude, we gotta go. And he's like, all right, like just worked all day. It's just like, oh boy, and. It's a bigger, I think St. Patrick's Day is a bigger deal in America than it even is in Ireland, so that was kind of the irony. But so I mean, obviously you get stories and experiences with guys like this, and then all of a sudden, there was no question. We had talked about it even at that time at his place in Dublin that he wanted to go to WWE, as do I, and that was our goal, and we're working toward it, and we're sharing stories about our experiences and our trials and tribulations trying to get to that level, and then. I mean, bam, he's done it, and he's done it big, and that rules, and a nice guy, and totally deserves it. It's so cool to see, but then to watch wrestling, it's like, oh, that's Sheamus versus CM Punk, and you're like, well, this is just weird. like, what is going on? So it's a weird time, because I've realized, at some point that then like a new generation or new crop will come up, but I feel like the people there now, or the people that are in the immediate future, I'm just so tied in with that it's like, it's just a weird experience watching wrestling.
Yeah, I could understand that. We've had, like I said, we had Justin Credible on. We had Scotty Riggs do our show. I don't know why, but it was like for him, it's like we found him. We were like, hey, you want to be on our podcast? He was like, yeah, sure. And for us, growing up during Nitro and the ECW era, where we're like, oh my god, like Scotty Riggs is taking time out of his schedule, just like everybody else, yourself included. But it's like it's crazy.
Right.
How we
wrestling is bizarre, and if we touched on this, it's like here I have like personal experiences with the Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, what?
Yeah, exactly. You're just a kid from Cleveland who was wrestling in a backyard.
Hulk's the man right now, and we talk. It's like, what? It's just a crazy thing to be involved in.
That's awesome. That's definitely awesome. With that said, Matt, I mean, we've gone over everything there is to go over. You have a website, mdoggmattcross.com, where people can find T-shirts. I know you have DVDs for sale over there. Are you? I believe you're part of the Twitter. Have you joined the Twitter yet?
Yeah, I'm big on the Twitter. I really enjoy it. I feel like, to touch back on the Tough Enough thing briefly, it's like Tough Enough did me such a disservice as a human and as a wrestler. And I feel like what I bring to the table is so much more vast than even what wrestling is. So I feel like Twitter's a good avenue to kind of show what I really am and what I really do. Because, I mean, I'm a guy that I'm at my best when I'm traveling and when I'm just doing flips at Mount Rushmore or running around in Sweden or just who knows what it is or where I'm doing it. But I'm always kind of going nuts. And people, 5 million people, for example, watched the first episode of Tough Enough, and you just wouldn't have got the sense of that.
Right.
And it's not because I didn't do anything. Like, it's just the way it was chose to be portrayed. And it's like, the best example I can give there is there was a fire at the house and a little fire pit out back, and I jumped in it and essentially set myself on fire. So why they chose not to show that, I'll never know. But I knew, like, this is my one chance to be on national television. So my goal is certainly to make it to WWE. And if not, I'll get my own show based off this. I'm going to be that nuts. And for the 4 or 5 days that I was there, like, I can rattle off 2 dozen things that I did that I just thought were of that caliber, just insane. And it's it's unfortunate because I feel like that's who I am as a person, and that could have been really helpful for me. So to tie it back into Twitter, I just think it gives you a better sense of, like, for example, like every July 4th we have a motorcycle helmet that we strap like a couple $100 worth of fireworks to, and we light it off my buddy's head every year, and he almost died like year in and year out. So you can kind of follow along with some of those adventures and crazy traditions that we have. And yeah, so it's twitter.com/mdoggmattcross. And then the website, like you mentioned, is mdoggmattcross.com. And I also have my Facebook fan page, which is, you can write messages on now. It's like a newer thing for fan pages. And that's just facebook.com/mdoggmattcross.
Excellent. Well, Matt, thank you for taking the time out of your day to sit down and talk to us, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck for you and Smash Wrestling, which will be involved in this Sunday evening. $15 tickets, Toronto, Ontario, excuse me. My Canadian geography is terrible. You can follow them on Twitter at Smash Wrestling and smashwrestling.com. And we wish you nothing but the best, Matt. Thank you so much.
Right on. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me out.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care.